How's it going, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Hockey Coaches Podcast. I'm Matt Corthius here from Hockey Pro Training, and my co-host is going to be none other than Kevin Muller from HockeyShare.com. How's it going, Kevin?
Great, Matt. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great, thanks. So just before we get started, if anybody wants to learn more about you and what you do, where's the best place to find you at?
Best place to find me at is on social media at KevinM2Hockey, and that goes for Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all the major ones.
Perfect. If you guys are looking to find out more about who I am, what I do, at Hockey Pro Training on all the social medias, and that should pretty much clarify who we are and what we do. So moving on and getting into the show today. Today we decided to talk a little bit about off-season training, off-ice training, whatever you want to call it. It's that kind of time of the year again where the season's ended, the Stanley Cup Finals just wrapped up, and it's time to start thinking about getting yourself ready for next year. For some people, it's probably been a longer season than others. I'm sure certain seasons have already been over for a month, 2 months now. Always time to get a rest, let the body recover, let the body repair, and then start thinking about what the program looks like, what the summer looks like, and what you're going to start doing to get yourself not only ready for next year, but better for next year. So I thought we'd start off the show just by giving a little bit of background about what we used to do, how we used to train, a couple of ideas of how things we used to do back in the day during our career, and then kind of how things have evolved to the way things are being done now. So if you want to jump on this one first, Kev, maybe you can let us know what your program used to look like. I know what mine used to look like. It wasn't the best. I wasn't training with Gary Roberts and the guy at BioSteel all summer, although I wish I had been, but that wasn't the case. But what did you have going on in the summers?
You know, I was actually one of the lucky ones. That was probably a little ahead of the time. When I was playing youth hockey, I actually had early access to the hockey treadmill.
Nice.
And an actual program design put together by the company that ran that. And they've changed names a couple times in the Wisconsin area, so I don't even know what they're actually called anymore. But so I was lucky in that respect, and it was kind of a little bit ahead of its time when I was playing. They had the agility component to it. They had obviously the treadmill component to it. So it was actually pretty fun. Once I actually got to college, ironically, when I was playing college, the structure of the program went way down. But again, that's sort of an evolution that we've seen in hockey. You know, when we were in college, it was more or less get in the weight room. Mm-hmm. You know, I had a really good coach when I was in high school, when I played up in Warroad, Minnesota. And essentially it was structured so that during the day, all the hockey players had strength training class at the same time,
Nice.
The same period. So we literally had it built into our school day. So you were expected to be in there. And ironically, our hockey coach was also the teacher for that class.
Nice.
If you had a game that night, you know, the workout, it was significantly different, right? So it was good. It was much less specific. It was very basic, right? It was do some bench presses today, do some squats tomorrow. Throw some curls in there so you look good when you hit the beach.
Always important. But always important.
Yeah, exactly. You know, in the off-season training, then in the high school days, it went more into a lot of plyometric work. So a lot of jumping, a lot of quick short sprints. Explode and then sprint, which is still very relevant today. But it was far from the time where you could just pick up a membership to a gym or something like that and get basically an individualized program for you, like where I think we're kind of at today.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to touch on one quick thing. Like when you grew up, you guys had high school hockey, right? So the hockey was part of whatever school you went to, you were part of a team with that school. Is that correct?
Correct.
Because we don't really do that here. We don't have any programs like that. So when you're in high school, you're playing for whatever zone you're in, right? It's not as specific as that. So would there was programs you said in school that would help with strength and development and stuff like that, specific to hockey?
It was a general class, right? And again, I don't know that I would say it was specific to hockey. In fact, if I look back at some of the stuff that we did, I would say that there was some stuff that was actually probably detrimental to, structural health, specifically shoulders and knees and that type of thing. But, it was built into the school. So it was as close, I think, as you get to that at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this was, 17 years ago.
And so is it still kind of like that today?
Yeah, I would imagine that it's pretty close to that today. I think for like the guys that I coach who were more of the AAA, the Tier 1 model, that's a little bit harder animal to tame because you have guys from different geographical regions, right? So
Yeah.
we had the distinct advantage that we were all training together. So, I think there's pluses and minuses. Obviously, if it's a bad program, it's a bad program, but certainly it lends itself to be able to correct things a lot easier than where we have it right now, where I've got guys that live, literally 9 hours apart, and
That's
in
crazy.
the summers they're that far apart.
So if you were the top player in your age group in a high school setting, would you be playing for your high school team, or is there a specific other AAA team you'd also be playing for?
It really depends on where I was at in Minnesota. It was a high school, right? In Minnesota, it's still high school hockey based. If you were where I'm living now, then you're more than likely going to play on a AAA team.
Okay. I think that's super cool because we don't have that. And I think like the rivalries here, if I just think about how the school systems are set up and how kind of the high school football goes, I think that would just be the most intense rivalry you could have. I'm not sure why they would do it or how it all works or why they don't do it or what the pros and cons are, but I think that would be awesome because I know my dad, he would always tell stories about high school hockey when he played back in the day. And that's interesting.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with the area you're in. Like right now, we're recording this. I'm up in Bemidji, Minnesota, which is up in the northern middle of Minnesota, and I just got back from Warroad, where I went to high school, which is 6 miles from the Canadian border. So
nice. That's probably why our connection's a lot better today. I've noticed. Maybe that's why.
Absolutely, but you have a different environment up here, right? Like even compared to the Chicago market, like here, there's a certain pride. There always has been that pride. It's that sort of legacy thing of playing for your school. It's a very different element to it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, so for me growing up, like we didn't have the high school thing, or we didn't have like the such a structured off-season program. It was more, there were programs, but it was more on you to take the onus to get after something, sign up for a camp. And I know we had the treadmill here, and that's kind of something I wanted to talk about briefly as well, because I kind of got my start working with a hockey skating treadmill. A friend of mine had a gym. She wanted someone to run it. I was kind of the guy that was around looking for something to do. And I remember growing up, I also worked on I worked as a player on a skating treadmill for about 3 to 6 months one summer. I found it to be quite beneficial, but that was kind of my start with the off-season training. We do the treadmill, we do the agility, we do the jumping, we do the plyometrics, like you said. But moving forward as I got older, it was more of the there's a power skating camp here. You can sign up for that. You could go to a gym, but you're kind of on your own to learn as you go. And I found that to be quite difficult just from a motivational standpoint and a knowledge standpoint. And I think before we get any deeper into this, it's always best to kind of find a professional, get some qualified advice when you're starting a new program, just so A, you don't hurt yourself, and B, you're getting the max value from what you're doing. Because I know I would spend a lot of time in the gym, an hour, 2 hours in the gym, but was I getting the max value out of that time? Probably not. There was probably a lot of bicep curls going on and a lot of tricep hammer pushes or whatever you want to call them going on. And I know that I could have really benefited from a good program. And I know nowadays there's a lot more of that going on, right? I can think of 2 or 3 different programs in the city that have really good hockey specific stuff going on. We can go in there and you're going to get better, you're going to get stronger, and you're going to be more ready for your season coming up.
Yeah, it's the old saying, like you touched on the treadmill. It's a tool, right? So it's only as good as the training that you're receiving while you're using that tool. I mean, we can have a bunch of dumbbells in a gym and, get different results based on who's working with us, right? No different than if we're on the ice.
And
we can get totally different results if we run the exact same drill even.
For sure. And I think what I noticed looking back, I didn't get a whole lot out of the treadmill because all the guy would do is he would just jack up the incline and then he would just say, go. But it's like, dude, have you checked out my stride lately? Like, it's far from perfect. It could use some work. And maybe our time would be better spent having a neutral like treadmill and just working on the techniques. I didn't say that at the time. I was 10, so I didn't know any better. But like looking back, that's kind of what I remember. And then having the opportunity to work with a treadmill, that's kind of what I found to be the benefits of it was when you would work with those kids that were struggling technique-wise, or they're struggling kind of understanding some of the basic fundamentals, you could kind of have that hour with them to just hammer through that and put it on a slow speed, take your time with the treadmill and just reinforce some of those habits. And I think I've posted the odd treadmill post on the old social media, and it kind of goes both ways. Some people love it. I'd say more people hate it. I'd say I'm neutral on it. I say, just like you, it's a tool like anything, right? If you use it correctly, you can get something out of it. I don't think it's as black and white. And some people, oh, you can never use a treadmill. It's blah, 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 this. I don't think it's like that in my opinion, right? There's always something you can get out of it if used correctly. And I think that's one of the ways I like to use it. I know I could think of 5 kids off the top of my head that come up to me even now and say, man, we got a lot out of that back then. Thanks a lot. And if they can take what they learned in that hour session on the treadmill, keep it fresh in their minds, and then apply it once they hit the ice, I think that's where the benefits come in. And I think a lot of times what does happen, unfortunately, is the kid's there for 30 minutes to an hour on Monday. He doesn't skate until Wednesday, Thursday. He's now forgot everything. He's been playing Nintendo for 3 days, and his brain's mush, and he's gone back to his old habits. So I don't know. Those are kind of my experiences with it, but I think everyone has an opinion on that kind of training, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my thing is it's a piece to the puzzle, right? It's a tool. And do you have to use it? No, absolutely not. Can you use it? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
With the caveat that nothing will ever replace ice, right? Like our game is played on a sheet of ice, so you can never fully replace that. But then it really depends on who's working with you, right? And if you're not getting instruction and feedback, do I think there's higher potential to actually do some damage in terms of technique? Yeah, I do. But if you have a knowledgeable person working with you on it, the reality of our sport is ice time is cost prohibitive. So it can be an opportunity to slow it down and, like you say, kind of deep dive on a very specific topic. And and then there's all sorts of conversation about inclines, declines, and you know what I mean. There's all sorts of them. I think that's maybe a little outside the scope of what we're going for in today's
And you
podcast.
Like anything, you can break it down to a million different levels and say, well, you never skate uphill, you never skate, and that's obviously true. I think what you said is a good point, that ice time is expensive. Not everybody has access to good coaching. I've got messages from people saying, how can people hate on a treadmill? Like, I don't have access to good coaches in my area. The only thing I have is the treadmill. So I think that's why I say it's not black and white, because there's always circumstances that allow you to get better. And it's just like something else, as you were saying, that brought up a thought in my mind. A lot of people always talk about is the rollerblading in the summer, right? A lot of people will say, you can't rollerblade all summer because you're going to ruin your stride and it's not going to apply once you hit the ice. And I know I vividly remember my father getting me a pair of rollerblades and saying, if you want to get better, get out there and work on your stride. I can't afford camp all summer long. So you got to put in that time. You got to put in that effort. You know what's wrong with your stride. You got to make it longer. You got to get stronger. And I remember getting out there and just getting those speed skater strides going as long as I can down the road. And when I got back on the ice come September, I felt the difference, because obviously the profile's different. It's wheels. It's not skates, right? There's obviously differences, right? So what do you think about the rollerblading? And like, I've been doing a lot of videos with those Mars blades lately, and I feel like they're a pretty good product. It's similar to skating, but once again, it's wheels. It's not ice. It's cement. It's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll preface this with, I'm the guy that at least once or twice would go to try to stop like a like a pair of ice skates. Yeah. So for me personally, I disliked them just because of the feel. Like, for me, I couldn't deal with the tactical difference in feeling, right? And a lot of guys can, and I don't think it's bad. I think, like you say, it's a little bit dependent on what you have access to and what your resources allow. And I was fortunate that I had resources that allowed me a lot of ice time growing up. Like that's no doubt, right? I mean, hockey's an expensive sport. But at the same time, I also look at it and, I was also the guy willing to help out at camps to get more ice time, right? So, some of training goes with, this concept of just being able to use whatever you have, right? And if you can clean toilets to get an extra hour of ice time when the ice is dead, hey, go clean toilets, suck it up, get it done, right? But specifically to your question, I think the rollerblades to me fall in a similar category to the treadmill. They can be a piece to the puzzle. I don't think they ever replace ice, and skating on ice. But I think for a lot of people, certainly where resources are prohibitive, there's a lot of similarity to it in terms of your muscular firing and things of that nature. But I personally, it messes with my mind too much to actually personally enjoy it. Like I wouldn't enjoy right now going throwing rollerblades on and going around the lake here. Because I know the second that I hit the ice, it would take me, 30 minutes to kind of like re-gauge myself, and that I value that at this point in my career too much. The feel that I get on skates and the detail that I get into with that. Personally, I value that too much right now to even think about messing with it.
It's crazy that you say that, because I get this vivid memory of, like, I don't know what it was, Adam or Pee Wee tryouts. And of course, I didn't skate much all summer. I've been on the rollerblades. And the second I hit that ice, I toe picked, I landed on my head. I just could not get comfortable on my blade. I couldn't get comfortable. The rollerblades were too long. They were too whatever. And I couldn't do it. And tryouts were a disaster. So if you are rollerblading in the summer, I would highly advise you to get on the ice for a week or two or a couple of sessions, get comfortable back on your skates, because it is an adjustment. I think the bottom line is, me and Kevin are similar in this way, is do the best with what you got when it comes to off-ice training. Like, is it the best to work with Gary Roberts and be in the gym 3 times a week, on the ice 2 times a week, having optimal programs? Yeah, that's probably the best option, right? Or you get a guy like Kevin or whoever it is and skate with them all summer and train with them all summer. I'd say that's a good option, but not everybody has that option. So if your second best option is to get on the treadmill and go pump weights by yourself 3 times a week, then that's your option, right? Do that. Get out there and stick handle 3 times a week. Shoot 2 times a week. Find whatever it is you can to get after and make yourself better. It really comes down to you and your motivation to improve, I think. And money's a factor, time's a factor. All these things are factors, and everyone's situation is different, right? And I respect that. I can appreciate that coming from where I came from. And I think looking back, I could have did more, taken more upon myself to improve myself on my own time instead of wasting time, right? You only get a finite amount of time every summer to improve your skills. And if you I was probably bad for this, just like I was bad for this in school. When I had a test on Friday, I'm not studying until Thursday, right? And I don't advocate that, but that's just how I was. And if I had a tryout September 1st, I wasn't training until the end of August. So I think consistency is key with these things. And if you can get started as early as possible and just find a way to do something 3-4 times a week, that's gonna pay off come tryouts comes the season. And I think something me and Kevin talked about the other day is just getting yourself that 1% better every single day if possible, no matter what that is. If for you it's going for a walk around the block, or it's having a green smoothie, or it's putting down the cigarette, whatever it is for you, just try to get yourself 1% better every single day, and it pays off long term.
Yeah, it really does. And, I touched on it again, but I just think it's so important to just hammer this home. A lot of people hide behind I don't have the resources to do A, B, and C. And I'm going to tell you, like, I own a gym. I train on the ice for, 5-6 hours, 8 hours some days during the summers, right? I can tell you this, that there's a ton of guys that I work with and a ton of guys in our gym that can't pay me. But they can pay me in other ways, right? Because one of my the asset is time for me, right, as a business owner. Mm-hmm. So you want to come in and mop the floor every morning for us? Hey, that saves me an hour of time. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know what? Jump in with these guys.
I appreciate
right?
that.
You want to, right? You want to get on the ice? Well, come help me when I work with the younger kids, right? Push pucks around for me. Help keep them, focused and motivated. I had a kid that took a bus an hour every morning just to come make it and train. Right, like that's initiative. Like that's
unreal, yeah.
Right, and I never got paid for it, and that's cool. That was part of the deal. But he took a bus an hour each way, and he would help me out. He'd do anything that I would ask of him. Right, if I needed help with a camp, if I needed help, cleaning a facility, anything like that, he would help. When we put the ice back in the rink, he was there. So really, the motivation and the compound interest, like you look at the resolve that it takes to do that. Those are lessons that continue to compound, right? Mm-hmm. They grow on each other. If you're 1% better in, your ability to find, create value for another person, guess what? That translates really well to business and,
life.
And to your regular life, yeah. Right? So like, forget hockey. Hockey's the microcosm,
yeah.
But we're trying to teach life lessons through hockey. So, really, really self-evaluate. Like, to me, summer training is all about how motivated are you? Like, are you, Are you the guy that says like, oh yeah, I worked out 5 days a week, and in reality you worked out 3, and 2 of those 3 you were on your phone for half the time? Or are you the guy that says like, man, hey, my family doesn't have the resources to get me on the ice all the time, but I found a way.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I think there's a lot of those guys out there. I think a lot of the guys in the NHL would be those guys, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe not so much today, but 5-10 years ago, and probably today, I don't know what difference that would make, but I think there's a lot more money involved in the sport today where more guys in the NHL are coming up with that full-time training background. But a lot of guys in the NHL probably had that resolve to just make it happen no matter how they had to make it happen, right? And I touched on this in the last podcast of friends of mine who played with Yager saying he would do 1,000 bodyweight squats a day, 1,000 lunges a day. Those are free guys, right? Push-ups are free. Pull-ups at the park are free. Sprints are free. So I think you make a good point there that financial situations can be an excuse at times. And I really liked what you said about just finding a way to make it happen. And don't be afraid to ask. That's kind of my takeaway from that little story you told there is don't be afraid to ask. I think good people are more willing to help you out than you would think, right? 100%. I can guarantee that speaking for myself. If someone sends me a message on Instagram and they say whatever their situation is, they're saying they're willing to do this, can you help me? I'm 100% going to help that person out any way I can, whether it's advice, whether it's sharing a video, whatever it is. People are willing to help. People are willing to help those who are willing to help themselves. And I think a lot of times people will say, man, thanks a lot for that. I can't believe you. I always say the same thing. I'm willing to help those who are willing to help themselves because I've been there. I've been the person asking for help, terrified that the person on the other side is going to say no or make fun of me or whatever it may be, right? And they have, like coming up in this even coaching game, I've asked people for help and they've been like, no. I've been like, okay, on to the next, right? There's more people willing to help you out than there isn't. So, and especially if you can find someone that gets it, then you're going to have a good mesh there and you're going to train well. And you're going to, like Kevin said, it's a life lesson. It's not just about hockey. That's what the podcast is kind of about. That's what the social media is all about. Hockey is one part of life. Training is one part of life. You want these things to translate into all parts of life. So I think that's a great point there. People are more willing to help you out than you think. So ask, get after it, find a way to make things happen.
Yep, absolutely. And also, the best are the best for a reason. Right? Like you already hit the nail on the head with the Yager example. You know, Crosby, everybody's seen, his dryer that he shot pucks at, right? Like those are easy things, but you can't look at somebody who's successful and somebody who's in super shape and go, man, they're lucky.
Yeah. Nah.
I disagree, right? I would say that luck, does it play a part of it? I think so at the professional level, because anybody's career can end, walking across the street, right? Like you don't know, like there's a certain amount of luck and the right people have to see you at certain times. But
I also think, sorry to cut you off, but I think the amount of luck in everyone's life is equal, if that makes sense, right? We're all lucky and unlucky in certain facets of our life. I'm lucky to be 6'4", right? That helps in certain aspects, but it's also detrimental in certain aspects. So it's not an excuse or it's not a big plus. So I think it's another excuse. I've done it myself and said, oh, that guy's lucky to have this or that. And that's how I used to think. I don't think that way. I never think that way anymore. It's like I saw a tweet from Ray Ferraro saying they walked into the rink after Game 5. The Penguins had a day off. And he said the coaches heard some rumbling around in the gym. And it was Crosby was in there by himself lifting weights. And it was just like, right. That gives me goosebumps almost to think about, right? He doesn't have to be in there lifting weights, but he knows, right? He knows. He wants to win. And I think it just comes down to those little things, those intangibles of who wants it more. That's it.
I mean, he's a classic example, right? Because he's such a big player in the sport right now, and obviously just winning his second Stanley Cup in a row here in the last 2 years. I mean, it's very impressive. But yeah, people don't see that, right? People don't see the sacrifice that he's put in to get there. So, if you're of the mindset that it's a really nice day out, I didn't go to the gym because I was at the beach, then guess what? Don't be surprised when you get cut. You have nobody to blame but yourself. Like, let's call a spade here. Most kids are on summer break, right?
Yeah.
Time is not an issue.
Yeah. You got at least, 16 hours a day? If you're working maybe 4 hours. Yeah.
Right. And so many of these guys are like, well, when I got up, we went to lunch, and you go, whoa, wait, what? You got up and went to lunch? So you slept in till 11? Like, end of story. I don't want to hear it. That conversation to me is done. Like, that's where I stopped talking to the player. I'm like, nope, done. Like, if you can't get your butt out of bed and get ready to go train, I don't know what to tell you, right? Because I mean, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and if you can't get out of bed and you can't dedicate, what does it take? 90 minutes. You can get an incredible workout done in 90 minutes, right? And including some work on your body to stay healthy and functional. If you can't figure out how to, reasonably have fun in the other, 22 and a half hours, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and I didn't really know where this podcast was going to go because we're both not personal trainers. We're not certified trainers. So we didn't really want to go too technical with specific workouts or this and that, just because that's not really our forte. But I think where we've gone with this is a good place, and it comes down to mindset. And what is your mindset going into the summer? Is your mindset to get girls and party? Well, if that's your mindset, then you should switch your mindset of what you're going to do next season as well, because it's not going to be where you think it's going to be. And it's just not. I can give a specific example of this for me. I was playing in Holland, a league in Holland, it was a decent league at the time, good pro league, not one of the best by far, but not one of the worst. Had a really good season. That summer, I was looking to get out of Holland and level up, go somewhere else, make some more money, play at a higher level, and I ended up making that happen. I signed a contract in Italy, good deal. I was pumped, and then I turned into pumped party boy all summer. And I thought, I've made it somehow. You know what I mean? I signed a contract, I made a little bit more money, and now I made it. Now I'm the man. But guess what happened? I got to Italy, and I was there for like a month, and all of a sudden I was in the GM's office, and he was shaking my hand and saying, see you later. Because I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. When you level up levels, you got to level up your skills, right? And I showed up at a different level with the same skill set, the same mindset, and it was see you later. It was out the door. And I'll never forget. I made every excuse in the book. Every excuse in the book. The coach was an asshole. The GM didn't like me. The team was a bunch of pussies, whatever it may be. But it took me like 4 or 5 years till I really looked in the mirror and I said, wow, you didn't make that team because you weren't ready, man. You didn't make that team because you were at the bar till 2. You might have strolled into the gym at 1. You might have skated with the boys once a week at scrub and like sauced the puck around, but it was a better level. My skating wasn't up to par, and I got gassed, and it hurt, and it was embarrassing. And yeah, I look back on that with regret, and that's one of the reasons I enjoy doing the podcast and the social medias, because I don't want you guys to have that regret. You get one chance, you get one opportunity to show people who you are and what you're about, and yeah, I regret that opportunity. It was an opportunity lost, and that opportunity would have led to other opportunities, right? And everything happens in life for a reason, and I'm not going to sit here and cry about that. That was kind of just a quick example about what not being prepared what means, right? Cost me money, cost me some of my pride, cost me opportunities.
Yeah, it's a great example though, right? Because it's part of why I would hope coaches get. I know it's certainly for the both of us. Part of the reason we get into coaching is if we can help players avoid one trap that we fell in when we went through it, then that's what coaching's supposed to be about. So,
absolutely.
I think a part of this too is you have to understand that every component, everything you do has a direct benefit or detriment, right?
Absolutely.
There's really only two things. So, with the kids that are in the high school age, if you want to drink, hey, you know what? Like a lot of high school kids do. I don't condone it. I don't recommend it, right? But understand that there is a very, very exact detriment that will happen because of that, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of downfalls to doing that. You want to chew? Like chewing's huge in hockey, right? For whatever reason, like I still haven't figured out why that's become so big. But I'll tell you what, if you want to have great cardiovascular shape, that's probably a really bad idea. Mm-hmm. And most people would never think about it, right? Because it's hard to understand, but it messes with your wind. It just does. And so understand, if you go shoot pucks, there's a direct plus. Mm-hmm. If you go party, guess what? If you went to the beach and decided to, drink soda all day, guess what? Setting yourself up.
And I think it's something I like to think about and live by a little bit is that everything matters, right? Everything you do matters. And I'm not saying to be perfect and just, drink smoothies all day and be a superstar. No, but just realize everything matters, right? And the guys I played with growing up that made it, played a bunch of games in the NHL, their discipline and their commitment to the game was 100% different than mine. 100% different than mine. I played with a guy named Ryan Beta. Growing up, trained with him, partied with him. He was a good friend of mine, still is, and his dedication to the game was different than mine, period. He was at the gym at 9 with a program book. I was there at 1 doing bench press and buys and then going to the beach, period. He played at this level. I played at this level. It matters. Everything he did mattered. Everything I did mattered, negatively and positively. So just keep that in mind when you're doing whatever you're doing. I don't think it's wrong to be a kid and get out there and have some fun and go to a party and to do all the things kids do. I did it. I'm sure you did it. It's part of growing up, right? But I think there's a balance that has to be kept in mind, right? I don't think me going out and hanging out with my buddies 6 days a week was the best choice. Looking back, was it fun? Yeah. Was it enjoyable? Yeah. Did I level up? No, I leveled myself down every time I slept in till 2, woke up hungover, woke up dehydrated. And something I've learned, the healthier I've tried to live my life, is that the healthier you live your life, the better you treat yourself, the better you're going to want to treat yourself, and the healthier you're going to want to live your life. And the exact opposite of that is true. The worse you treat yourself, the worse shit you put in your body. It's a cycle. What you give yourself is what you want. And it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going until you either change that or you just hover around in the middle like I used to.
Yeah. I mean, listen, training equals habits, right?
Yeah.
The training is a habit. Everything we do is habit based. I was fortunate enough to kind of see this firsthand. I got to peek behind the closed doors, so to speak, of an NHL team. And one thing that really stood out to me was I got to see the area that their chef prepares their meals. And they said on a practice day, the players will come in. The chef will have breakfast ready for them about 2 hours before they go on the ice. It's always, the same spread. They'll have lunch ready for them when they get off the ice, and they'll actually pack them a dinner to take home for that day.
Nice.
Why? Because it takes the guessing out of the equation, right? If that player just simply heats up what he's got, what he gets to take home,
Easy.
Then that program, who is investing probably millions and millions of dollars into that athlete, they have a much higher likelihood that habitually he's just going to heat the food up rather than go to the grocery store or drive out to a restaurant himself.
And absolutely. And what happens is when you don't have that is that you're 21 years old, 22 years old, and you and your roommate Bob are taking a can of pasta, a bag of pasta, and then just combining the two and calling that lunch, dinner, and breakfast, because you don't know anything different, right? Because most hockey players, let's not kid ourselves, when they're 21, 22, 23, they have no idea how to take care of themselves physically or probably mentally. And I think that's why I do preach a lot about the health and nutrition side of the game. And I try not to preach so much my views on all of that, but just to educate yourself and start learning a thing or two about nutrition, because that's another component of off-season training. That's it's not going to make you or break you, but it might, right? I think one of the good tips someone told me about going into a tryout was make sure you're in shape, make sure you're ready, make sure your conditioning's there. And if you're putting good stuff in your body, that's only going to help that out, right? So I like that aspect. If you look at pro players, and just from your pro example, I'll give another one of the pro guys I played with that really looked after themselves, because when I played professional hockey, I didn't look after myself. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you I was in the gym before, riding the bike after. I was like Joe Casual. I don't know why I was like that, but that's just the person I was 5-6 years ago. I don't know, I put in the work sometimes, but not consistently, right? And that's why I like to say that I always hovered around the middle, always. Never the best, never the worst, but yeah, I had some good years. Yeah, if you talk to people about me, they'd have some good things to say, but there's a level I played at that level wasn't where I should have been playing at. And that 100% came down to, like you said, my habits and my dedication. And I was stuck in my bad habits. I was stuck in my mediocre habits. And like I touched on a few minutes ago, it's okay to have fun, but I think make sure your habits are habits of excellence. And if you slip up once in a while and you go out too late, then what's going to happen is you're going to wake up the next day, and like you said, habitually your mind's just going to go, okay, time for a green smoothie, time for a walk, time to go to the rink. Not as my mind would go, okay, we're hungover, we should lay down, we should rest, we should have some water. Hey, maybe we should go do it again. That was fun, right? So you got to train your mind to think correctly and make sure you're ready to go mentally come summertime.
Yep, you control your own results. That's the bottom line, is whatever you decide to do or decide not to do.
Yeah.
It's on you, right? And that's really what I think the big takeaway from the podcast is like, take a look at what you have available to you. What's in your area, right? Because then that's going to be different. If you live in a city, you're probably going to have access to resources that a lot of guys don't if they live in the North Woods of Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. but take an honest look at what you have, take an honest look at what your resources allow you to do, and then take an honest look and say, is there a way that I could still use these resources without maybe the exact financial exchange? Is there something I can do so that I can still get the benefits? And you know what? At the end of the day, if you don't know how to do a certain type of shot and you really want to go shoot pucks in the driveway and actually get something out of it, I mean, every single player's got one of these.
Yeah.
Right? Like, pick it up. Go to YouTube. You go to YouTube to watch, kids falling off of bikes and other goofy stuff. I mean, take the time and search for, hockey snapshot or weight transfer shot or, stride. You'll get somewhere. It's probably going to be better than just winging it, or
absolutely,
it's definitely going to be better than doing absolutely nothing.
And the good coach always used to say to me, I don't want to see any hope passes. So don't just hope you get better. Don't just hope you show up in better shape. Don't just hope. I think I used to just hope I'd have a good season. I would just hope that I'd have a good tryout. I would take that hope out of the equation and just make sure it happens, right? Maybe take one. You have the summer off. So what's your day look like? You get up at 11. Maybe you got a part-time job. You got 2 hours every day to dedicate to getting better, if that's what you want. This isn't the perfection podcast. This is the, if you want to get better, you want to make it, dedicate an hour, 2 hours every single day. That doesn't have to be working out. That doesn't have to be weights. That could be, like you said, get on YouTube, study the game, do positional stuff, talk to someone about hockey, learn about nutrition. Because if you're 15, 16, 17 years old, you know nothing about nutrition. You have no idea how to feed yourself. If your parents weren't around, you'd be eating Kraft dinner and hot dogs all day. I guarantee it. For 90% of you, I was that guy. Kevin, maybe you were different. I don't know. But it's just hard when you grow up having your parents take care of you. That's just what happens. I went from my parents' house to my billet's house to living by myself when I was 21 years old. And I went to the grocery store with my roommates. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea what to do. And I'm embarrassed saying that because I just didn't know. But I didn't know. I never looked into it. I just always relied on someone else, right? So don't rely on someone else to make you better. Start relying on yourself, choosing yourself, and just find a way to make it happen. I think there's a lot that goes into the off-season training. It's not, as some people want, what's the best drill to get faster? That's not what it is. What's the best thing to work? There is no best thing. It's what can you do with your surroundings, like Kevin said, your situation, to make yourself better today, get yourself set up for tomorrow, and just get yourself set up long-term to do whatever it is you want to do. That comes down to you, right? So I don't know. Anything else to add on that topic, Kev?
Yeah, here's one practical tip. If you sitting here listening and you're saying, listen, I still don't have access to the resources, this, that, and the other thing, then I would say this. Here's one practical piece of advice, because everybody, I would assume, listening to this podcast is going to have internet access. And if you don't, walk to a library and get it, right? You can get internet access. All you have to do is literally go to NHL.com, go to the video section. You can watch goals from any game, right? It's now that easy. Sit down and watch 100 goals. If you're a forward, watch the habits that are creating the goals. If you're a defenseman, watch the habits of forwards exploiting defensemen and why they're getting beat in those positions. If you're a goaltender, watch where the pucks are coming in from different angles. That's a simple, practical, easy way that everybody has access to, but very, 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 very few players are willing to actually use. And I can tell you that 100%. From my own experience of telling players to do that. It's always some excuse. Oh, I'm out of data. I'm like, really? You have Wi-Fi at the house? Like, you don't have to watch it while you're in the car,
Yeah.
Well, that was the only time I had. No, you got to a hotel for the tournament that you're at, and the hotel had Wi-Fi. Like, almost every rink you walk into now has Wi-Fi. So, leave the excuses at the door. Accept responsibility for your own off-season training. Accept responsibility for your own in-season training, because it doesn't stop when the season starts. And I think that's, one thing to understand is that these habits, again, training equal habits, these habits carry into the season and help you continue 100%. To grow as a person through the course of the season.
I wanted to say one quick thing about excuses. I would be careful with ever making excuses. When you said that, something just popped into my head. I think excuses also become habits. And the guys that make excuses are always the guys that make excuses. Always. There's always a yeah, but. There's always a I could have, but. And hey, I'll put myself in that category back in the day. I was willing to make an excuse for a lot of things, but so be careful with the excuses. Even if you're just throwing it out there to throw it out there, don't, because that habit will just keep going. And like you said, it's going to carry on to the season where now Kevin says, hey, how come we didn't get that puck out? You're going to be the first guy that's going to say, well, Where's the centerman? You know what I mean? Where is my support? It just, these things all carry over. They all translate. It's not just cut and dry one-time thing, right? So be the guy that says, well, why didn't you make that team? I pissed off all summer. I was with my girlfriend watching movies and holding hands, right? Grab the mirror every single day, look at it, and be honest with yourself. That's one thing I would say to myself 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Grab the mirror, have a look. What do we need to work on? What do we need to get better at? Let's go do that today. One way or another, right? Because then when the season comes, you don't make the team, I don't want to hear about it. And then you can look yourself in the mirror when you don't make that team and say, you know what? I busted my ass. I gave it all. I just heard LeBron answer a question about they lost. How do you feel? He said he feels great. I left everything on the court. I needed to leave on the court. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. You will never hear me make an excuse today. Never. Because I know it's not about my wife or my kid or my sleep or my whatever. It's about me, right? And even if it is about them, it's still about me because they can't fix the things I need to fix. Your buddy can't make you better. You have to make you better. They can bring you down, but they can't make you better. You got to do it.
Yep. Love it. Matt, did you get some questions for us via Instagram there?
I got a couple questions. I just wanted to touch on one quick thing before we hit them up. I posted this thing on Instagram this morning, a quote I heard on, I think it was a Tony Robbins quote, actually. I stole it from him, but I didn't actually tag him and give him credit. So, Tony, I apologize if you saw my quote on Instagram. That was yours. I should have tagged you, buddy. Anyways, the quote went to say, who you spend time with is who you become. And I thought that was very powerful because I think, and I know for a fact, there's kids out there that could step up their level, play at the next level, do whatever they want to do, but their kind of crew is holding them back. And I thought that was a powerful quote. You always hear people say, well, you are the 5 people you spend the most time with, or just whatever that kind of quote is. 100% true. It's going to happen. Your friends are trying to level you up. You're going to level up. They're trying to bring you down. You're going to get brought down. It's just how it goes. So my advice kind of was on the Instagram to make sure you know who you're hanging around with. Try to find guys they have the same goals as you. They have the same mindset as you. That's why I like doing this podcast with Kevin. I was pumped to do it with him. I appreciate his mindset, how he thinks, how he works, his work ethic. And I know through speaking with him, working with him, I'm going to level up myself. And I'm going to push myself to not only be better, but just by proxy of being around him, speaking with him, I'm going to improve all facets of my life. So just a quick, that's my little takeaway from the podcast is look who you're hanging around with, level yourself up. I know it's probably hard to get rid of your friends at this point in your life or say, hey, Jimmy, I know you like to smoke weed all day, but I'm not into that right now. I'm going to have to let you go. But I think to make good things happen, you got to make hard things happen. So any thoughts on that, Kev?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, right? Like it's tough to tell your friends no, and it's sometimes it's a very difficult thing. But man, is it ever true? And I've experienced it in my life, and I have a very similar feeling working with you, Matt. Right? It's good to get to talk to people who are like-minded, and
for sure,
because I know that through some of our conversations that we have on the side, in prepping for this stuff, I learn stuff, and it makes me think about stuff a different way, and that's where the growth happens. And if you're surrounded by, for lack of a better word, a bunch of losers, that's probably what you're going to be. And that may sound harsh, but one thing that I don't think we're in the business of is sugarcoating stuff when it matters, right? I think our job as coaches is to be responsible with the information we have and to provide it in a very clear, concise manner. And that's just the truth. Listen, unfortunately, I've coached kids they're kind of losers, and you do everything you can to try to get them out of that and out of the habits that are creating that within them. And you're as a coach, you're gonna have some kids that you never end up reaching, and it sucks, but it's part of it. But the one thing that I always take away from that is I always think, could I have been more direct? Should I have been more direct? And pretty much always my answer is, yeah, there's probably something I needed to say that maybe I didn't, or I could have been a lot more stern or clear about. And
it's hard. It's
you
a tough
can't be
spot.
around the bad guys.
It's
You can't be around guys that don't want it and don't want to be better. And figure out what you truly want, right? Like that's the other thing is, if you just want to play hockey, that's way different than I want to be the best hockey player.
Yep.
two completely different things. Like this I'm a firm believer in, Matt, is I think that the majority of hockey players are in love with the image of being a hockey player.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
I don't think there's many players in this game that are in love with what it takes to be a hockey player,
100%.
and that's true. And you know what? I'm going to I'll throw myself under the bus here and say that probably if I look back at my career, I probably wasn't nearly as in love with the process as I should be. And
I think
so
it's
that's
probably
part of my
worse.
goal.
It's probably worse today. Sorry to cut you off. I think the hockey player image is more of a goal for more people with the social media and the whatnot today, because we didn't think about it as much back then. I remember, like, some people, I didn't even realize it was that cool to be a hockey player until you got older. You know what I mean? Once I realized it was cool, yeah, I'd throw it out there a little more often. You know what I mean? But when I was younger, like, you didn't really think about that. But now kids on the Instagram, hockey life, hockey player life, and it's just like, I'll tell you what, McDavid, Crosby, whoever it is at the top level, they don't care about that shit. That's not what they're thinking about. You'll notice a difference in the Stanley Cup final. This might be a little mini rant, but when PK Subban starts talking about jokes and Listerine and Crosby said my breath smelled, and, like, to me, I'm thinking, what is that? Is that guy focused on the series? Is he focused on winning, or is he focused on, like, being the cool guy in the media and, like, getting more attention brought to a subject that's absolutely irrelevant? Hey, bro, it's game 3, right? You guys, like, you're playing the Penguins. Why are you talking about this? So, I don't know. Focus on what's important. And like Kev said, you get one shot at this. You get one life. Your friends will be there when it's over, right? When you're 15, 16, trying to make junior, trust me, your friends when they're 25, 26 that are partying all day, they're still going to be there doing the same thing. You know what I mean? I got friends right now I can call. I'm 35, and I wanted to go to the same bar we went to 20 years ago. I could go there on Friday because guess what? They're going to be there, right? So partying and drinking and all that nonsense, it's not going anywhere. Don't make the priority. I'm kind of going off on a little side rant that I wanted to get into, but I kind of forgot. Don't make that the priority. That will be there when it's all said and done. If hockey's a priority, make it the priority for the short amount of time. Make improving yourself the priority. And if when it's all said and done, you'd rather go party and hang out with girls and do that stuff, they're going to be there. You're not going to miss out. I think kids also get in this thought process. I know I did, a fear of missing out on certain things. And I get it. I was there. We're all there. You want to go to the party. You don't want to go to the camp, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, man. Looking back, I regret that mindset and wish I thought more the way I think today than I did back then. But it's part of growing up. It's part of learning. That's why we're here, trying to help you guys out, like Kevin said, not make the mistakes we made. And make sure you take advantage of this one shot. Like, if you got to tell little Jimmy that you don't want to hang out with him anymore, he'll forgive you. He'll understand. And if you won't, it's not really going to be your loss. It's not. There's other guys that you'll find, they'll come in your way. And yeah, that's kind of my little last rant before we move on to a few questions. All right, Kev, so we're going to get into a few questions here. I just fired up the Instagram live. So what's going on, guys, on the live stream? And we're going to do a few questions off there. I thought that'd be kind of fun to do. We got a couple questions from the Instagram that maybe we'll get to later, but we're going to do these ones. I think this might be enjoyable for everybody. So Charla_R says, how do you think a 15-year-old can train in the off season like a gym workout? So I think the question is kind of more a technically speaking 15-year-old. Where do you think they're at? What do you think they should be doing? You can go first if you like, and I can kind of chime in after.
Yeah, I think the training is always going to be dependent on the level of the athlete, and the level that they're playing. If we're talking about an elite 15-year-old athlete, then I think it's probably time to start training like a young man or woman, right? It's time to kind of step your game up or level up, as you say, and get in there and get committed. Yeah, certainly you need to have a pretty structured program if you're shooting to be at the top of your age group at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at that age you're ready to go. If you can find a program that you can get involved with, like I know they got them here. It's a couple $100 a month. They're going to teach you everything you need to know about the basics of like squatting and compound movements like deadlifts and stuff like that. So if you can find a good program, that's what I would get involved in. If you have the means to get a personal trainer, something like that. But I think you should be in the gym getting stronger, right? It's time now. You're not 11, you're not 12. I think, I'm no professional on this topic, but I think that's kind of when I started lifting. And I think that would be a good point to get going there. Next question comes in from my man, the Hockey Beard. This is a good one because I've posted a few videos on this lately. He says, BOSU balls, wobble boards, yay or nay when it comes to training. And I'll just jump on this one first because I've posted a few videos. I've had a bunch of kids are always sending me videos to post on my page, and everyone's doing the stick handling on the BOSU ball, right? You see a lot of that going on. And yeah, fundamentally speaking, do I think it's the best thing to be doing? Probably not. Do I think it helps with your balance and your coordination, that kind of thing? I think it would help. I just want to preface this by saying I like to share videos like that more so to motivate people to get out there and train. To see other kids doing it, it's going to pump other kids up to do it. It pumps me up to get out there and train. So I don't think you need to be standing on a BOSU ball doing dumbbell squats to improve yourself. I think it looks cool on Instagram. I think it's maybe cool on YouTube, but I wouldn't say it's the best. I think everything like we've touched on before has its value, but definitely not necessary. Your thoughts, Kev?
Yeah, I would say it goes to risk versus reward.
I would agree with that as well.
And I'm a guy that can do BOSU ball stability ball squats. Like I can stand on a stability ball and do squats, and right, but I've stopped doing them because all it takes is one time to fall off and,
Yeah, and also sorry to cut you off, but there's progressions to getting him to doing that, right? He's not just going to jump on a ball and start doing squats. So if you're going to be working with a BOSU ball or a wobbly board, make sure you have somebody helping you with that, a spotter, a trainer. And yeah, if you're going to work your way up to that in your program and that's part of your program, go for it.
Yeah, I just don't think that I don't think it's a necessity. Can it be used as a tool? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I got another question here I wanted to answer. Jokestar96 says, how can I improve my stick handling for girls hockey? I would have to say that girls or boys hockey is irrelevant what you play for stick handling practice. And my advice is always the same. Find the proper drills, find the techniques, get out there and work on it. Practice, practice, practice. I got a free training course on my website you can check out I talk about the basics. I give you a few simple drills to get after it and just start putting in that repetition. So that's a pretty simple one to answer. Do you have anything to add to that, Kev?
Grab a golf ball and go stick handle in the driveway. I mean, if you spend 20, 30 minutes a day, whether or not you ever do a quote unquote drill, you'll get better.
For sure. And if you guys want to go to YouTube and check out Kevin's videos at hockeyshare.com, I'm not sure he knows this, but in one of my videos on my course, I actually stole one of his videos straight up before I even knew him. And not stole, but I generously used a few of his ideas that I hadn't thought about before. So youtube.com, HockeyShare, great videos on there. There's some good stick handling stuff there in all seriousness. He goes over the basics, and I think that's a great place to start. Learn the basics, hammer those home, then you can kind of move up to doing different stuff. Would that be fair, Kevin?
Very fair, yep.
Do you hold that against me?
No, it's all right.
What do you think about using protein pre-workout BCAAs at the age of 15? Do you want to get after that one?
Yeah. I'll start with protein because everybody thinks of the same thing. It's buying the 4-pound jug of, let's call a spade here, low quality protein. Mm-hmm. I think number one is before you start, they're called supplements for a reason. Mm-hmm. And it's to supplement what you're not getting in your diet. So number one is fix your diet because you can probably get enough protein without having to resort to low quality, concentrated protein powder. Like that's my opinion. In terms of pre-workout at 15, I would say very sparingly. Like if we're talking about the end of summer and you're just trying to grind through a workout, maybe. But I mean, I don't see the benefit. I don't see the reasoning behind a 15-year-old slamming 300 milligrams of caffeine. I think there's too much, risk versus reward. I mean, because, you could take that pre-workout and, have a heart defect and not know it. I mean, that's the unfortunate part about it. Do I think a lot of 15-year-olds do it? Yes, absolutely they do. Do I think it's good? No, I don't. I think it's something where if you can stay away from the caffeine side of it as much as possible to push through a workout, I think you should at that age. And then when you're older, I think you can make that decision for yourself. But, again, seek qualified medical professional advice before.
Yeah, seek medical qualified advice and also seek common sense. I think I'll touch on the protein one first. I know back when I was a kid, I thought every single summer I would always buy one of those big jugs. Every single summer. I thought I had to. I thought it was pointless to work out without one. And I swear to God, no word of a lie, I would take it once, maybe twice. It would destroy my stomach. I would feel horrible. And I was just buying whatever was on sale, whatever the guy GNC sold me on that particular day. And I thought I needed the protein powder to build my muscle. That's what I thought. I thought that was going to make me stronger. And now that I've learned more about nutrition, yes, protein, amino acids help repair your muscles, help muscles grow. So protein is necessary, right? If your diet's horrible, I think getting a good protein powder would be a good idea, right? If you're not eating enough, I think it'd be a good idea to take after a workout, and like Kevin said, to supplement your diet. Is it a necessity? No. I think if you check the households of 95% of hockey players, they got a protein powder in there. I think marketing and everything goes a long way in this world. And once again, is it a necessity? No. Can you use it? Yes. Is there going to be benefits? Yes, if used correctly. But I would also say, try to find a good, clean protein powder that's not full of 1,000 ingredients, a bunch of chemicals. I know Vegas Sport makes a good product. That's always what I recommend. It's a little more expensive, but you have to think of your body as a machine. And if you're going to just cheap out, I cheap out all the time because I just do, but I would try to always invest in the best product that you can invest in for where you're at. And a good Vegas Sport protein powder, there's also a lot of added nutrition to these protein powders. It's not just protein, right? So that can be helpful. As far as the pre-workout goes, I have never been a pre-workout guy. I think my heart rate is good where it's at. I think a good strong cup of coffee is always a good pre-workout. That's what I would always take back in the day if you're looking to fire yourself up. I know Vegas Sport also makes a good pre-workout that's kind of cleaner. It's not full of chemicals. It's all natural. You could try that. I think Kevin was spot on. You never know with that stuff, especially the stuff you're just buying at GNC or whatever health food store. You just never know. And I'm sure you're not reading the ingredients either. So be careful. Keep it as natural as possible. Try to fire yourself up naturally and go from there.
And I do want to add one thing to that is like, I know guys that will, they're so habit based that they will have that protein shake within 30 minutes of working out without fail. Right. And they'll finish their workout at 1:00. They'll have their protein shake and the next meal they eat's at 5. Why not just eat another meal? Yeah. Why not plan your day better? Mm-hmm. You could actually get the nutritional benefits from a meal. You'd be better off going, right? And you can put garbage in your body and it's going to be better than nothing, mm-hmm. right? So I don't understand the concept or the thought process behind, I got to have this protein shake, but I'm too lazy to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and bring it with me to the gym. Like I don't get that. Yeah. Sorry.
I think for one, I think it's an easy way out to just bring the protein shake. So if you don't have anything, you can do that. But like, I'm not a big protein powder guy. I'm not. I buy it sometimes. I use it sometimes for the flavor. But I'm a food guy. I'm a whole foods guy. And I can go into this topic for hours, but I won't bore you guys with that. But like Kevin said, you want to make sure when you're eating, you're getting the most bang for your buck without taking anything away, right? So the protein powder, if you're going to buy one that's full of stuff that you shouldn't be having in your body just to get the protein, right? What's the end net game of that protein shake? You're going to get 20 grams of protein. Or like Kevin said, you can make yourself a nice healthy dish of food where you're going to get the protein, you're going to get the fiber, you're going to get the water, you're going to get the iron, you're going to get the fats, you're going to get everything you need to help your body recover. So I think food's always the best option. I think protein shakes are good for backup plans. That's kind of how I would recommend you guys use them. If you're at the rink, here's another, I'm going to go on a little tangent here, but if you're at the rink, you're going to get on the bus and that bus is going to stop at McDonald's on the way home. Bring a fucking protein shake. Because I know our bus would always stop at McDonald's. I'd get something because I didn't know. I wasn't aware. But bring a protein shake. If that's going to get you through that McDonald's stop, that's what you want to do. Because the McDonald's is just going to fill your body full of acid and garbage. And it's going to affect your recovery, right? So we're thinking about recovery. That's why the protein shakes are there. So food's going to help you recover, as is the shake. But we'll try to keep this question for another day before we go too deep into the subject. But I will say, look into things online. Where to get your protein, right? Go to plant-based protein sources. We all know meat and eggs has protein. Every Joe knows that. But check out other sources of protein. There's lots of them out there. All right, I'm going to jump back on the live here and see if we can find a good question. Good question, guys. Any tips on backhand toeies? Check some of my Instagram videos. I think I got some backhand toei drills there. Okay, we're gonna go with Jokestar again. Getting the question is, how can I practice my stride off ice? I have a few ideas for that. I want to see what you got to say first, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the easiest ways I think to functionally work on stride in just street shoes is if you take a roll of hockey tape, you put some tape on the ground, you make a straight line, and you make a T. So you have a perpendicular line, and then what you do is you take and you make another mark with basically makes it a 45-degree angle. So from the intersection of the T, you make another line out of tape about 45 degrees, and you just practice your recovery. So you stand right in the middle of the top of the T, and you reach your foot back and you extend your toe out so that it touches that 45-degree line. So now you're functionally training that pattern, right? You've got that 45-degree push, and then you can also work on the balance on the recovery.
Good answer. Really good answer. I was going to say something similar, but something I had someone do with me once was we would do the exact same thing. And this especially goes for kids they're struggling with the setup. They're not understanding the technical, where the hips go, where the chest should go, how the whole body should line up. You do the same thing. You get set up and you put 2 towels underneath your feet. So then you do what we would call towel strides. You're essentially doing the same thing, but you're on a nice smooth surface in the gym, wherever you may be, on your kitchen floor, and you're just making that nice stride motion. You could also put the tee down and just try to find where those feet should go and what that movement should feel like. And I think that's going to not only help you technically, but if you sit in that position for long enough, you're going to start building up some strength in those legs and start building up some of that power. So good question, good answer. I'm going to jump on this question here from my man HF_enforcer. Your thoughts on Herbalife? In my understanding, that's like another supplement company just selling a protein shake. Is that correct?
Yeah, Herbalife is
nutritional shake.
Yep. I honestly don't know enough about the company to kind of make an opinion one way or the other. I believe it's another multi-level marketing supplement company.
I was going to say it's all hype, and I think if you just buy a sweet potato and put it in the oven and bake it, it's going to be a lot cheaper. There's going to be way more nutrition. Get the bulk of your nutrition from food. That's the answer. Unless you're living somewhere where like you don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, which it could be the case, obviously, and then maybe something like Herbalife would be an option. I don't know what it is either. It just seems like a scam to me. I think it's been proven to be some type of a marketing scheme as well. Food. Get the nutrition from food. If you have to get supplements because you need it, do so. I also think something I found valuable when I started transitioning my diet was to get your blood work done. Go see a doctor. Find out where you're at, right? Like you're going to take your car into the shop to get it looked at. You're going to go see a dentist to get your teeth looked at. Make sure you're getting your body looked at and make sure you know where you're at nutritionally, right? I'll tell a story that I don't tell to many people. When I transitioned off my diet into a more of a plant-based diet, I had some nutritional issues because I was still playing hockey and training a million miles an hour, but I didn't learn what I needed to supplement in order to eat the way I was eating, right? And forever I never saw a doctor because guys just don't see doctors sometimes. You know what I mean? That's how we are. We're lazy. We're scared. You don't want to know. But I'll tell you what, when I started seeing a doctor regularly and getting my blood work done regularly, I really found a shift in my health because I knew exactly where I was at. I knew what was working, what wasn't, and I wasn't guessing anymore. So I think that's a little bit of a takeaway tip. Know where your body's at because you could be doing your best, eating your best, and still slacking due to the fact that you're low in iron or B12 or whatever it may be, right? So know where your shit's at. All right, we're going to do one more question here, and then we're going to move on. Tips for inline goal in Brazil. Well, and my phone just died, so we're not going to do that. We're going to get to one question off the Instagram, and the question is, how many days a week should we be training?
Boy, that feels like $1 million question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of training some way, shape, or form, probably 7 most of the time. I'm a firm believer in that. I think if you truly love what you're doing and you're truly training to be the best,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you have to be in the gym 7 days a week, but it means, again, go look at NHL.com, go figure out, go watch some goal videos. It means go read a little bit about nutrition, do something that will help your craft. I think from a if you look at it in the more generic sense of like when they say that the weight training side of it, then probably you're looking at 5 to 6 days a week. And I think somewhere in there are recovery days where you're actively taking care of your body through stretching and through myofascial release and injury prevention. But I think in terms of the generic training, meaning just getting better, 7 days a week.
I agree. I think that's a great answer. And I don't have too much to add to that. Like I said, I'm not a professional, so it's best to maybe find a trainer, even if you get them for one session, even if you get someone to make you a program and say, what should I be doing? Like, should I be skating one day, off ice the next day? Whatever it may be, get yourself a program, get yourself organized. And like Kevin said, do something every single day that's going to make yourself better, right? It doesn't have to be all day. It doesn't have to be every day. A little bit better every single day. That should be your motto. I think there's something to be said for a good program, a good structure. Somebody once told me if you don't write it down, it's not going to get done. I think there's a lot to that. And if you have something that you're accountable to every day, then it's just going to help you along the way. I think whether you train 6 days a week, 7 days a week, upper body, lower body, core, P90X, TRX, cross, whatever it is, there's a million ways to do it, right? How many players in the NHL? 700 plus. I guarantee they're all doing it a little bit differently. So find what works for you, but just find something and get after it and start pushing yourself to level up as much as you possibly can. But also take time to rest, take time to breathe, take time to stretch, and take time to recover. Also quite important when it comes to longevity and injury prevention, as Kevin mentioned. Anything else to add, buddy, before we wrap this one up?
No, it's been a fun podcast. Like we were talking before, I'm not sure I saw the podcast necessarily drifting this direction, but I like it. It's been fun. It's it's a good thing to take into account the mindset when we talk about training, because too often people want to know how many reps of bench press and what weight and this and that, and that's such a small part of training. If you understand that the habits behind your training, your consistency, your willingness to fight through things and overcome adversity, and the nutrition you're putting, like there's so many elements, there's so many layers to it, the learning side of it. You just have to be kind of all encompassing when it comes to training. And
also don't be afraid to just get started, whatever it may be, right? Like I said, a walk around the block, climbing a tree, doing some pull-ups at the park, whatever it may be, just get started. I think a lot of people are oftentimes waiting for their program or waiting for their new shoes or waiting for the sun to come out. Stop waiting. Start doing. Push-ups are free. Burpees are free. Having a good attitude is free. And it's just going to be a snowball effect. So once you do one thing, you're going to want to do it again the next time. So just get started. That's it. I apologize if I did the majority of the talking today and went off on too many rants, but that's how it's going to go. Next time, I'm sure Kevin will go off on a couple rants, and I'll just sit here and listen to him and take notes. So if you guys are looking to find more about what I'm doing, you can always check out the Hockey Pro Training social media, or go to hockeyprotraining.com and sign up for your free training course today. And Kevin, where can everybody find you, just to remind the people? You can find me at Kevin M2 Hockey. And then if you have questions for the podcast, hockeyshare.com/questions. We will have a form there that you can just pop your question in. And when we do our Q&As, we'll pull from the best ones that we find for the topic of the day, and hopefully get to your answers on air. Beautiful. And just so anybody knows, I get a lot of people asking me for like drill specific. Like I had somebody email me the other day, can you send me some drills for this shooting thing I'm doing? And for me to do that like via Instagram or Facebook is tough. So if you guys are looking for more like drill specific stuff, make sure to check out hockeyshare.com. How many drills are on the website? About 1,200 right 1,200, now. Yeah. There you go. So if you're looking for one for me, I can give you one good one. But if you're looking for 1,200 good structured drills from Kevin, check out hockeyshare.com. And we will see you guys at the next episode. Bye for now.